What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Rise Up Rich podcast. I am your host, David Haas. Thank you for tuning in today. I really think that this podcast is going to be one that is probably one of the more popular ones because it's kind of about my own journey in some ways. Recently, I've really been doing some digging, some self-reflecting, and I think that's the one thing that's come from this whole coronavirus is that we're at home. We don't have the regular day-to-day distractions. We're not even going to visit family and friends. Might not have our job. We might be working from home. And it just creates an opportunity for us to really look at what's important in our lives. And for me, it's been really simple. My life has been about a consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. That's something I got from this guy, David Meltzer. You can check his stuff out. But I just constantly want to be growing and learning and expanding and moving towards maximizing my potential so that I can be the best version of who I am. Because when we're not the best version of who we are, there's a lack of energy. We feel guilt for not really fulfilling our purpose. And learning how to get connected with our true purpose, or our higher self, or our definite purpose is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do as human beings. And then once we come to that realization, it's about taking action in that consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential. So I've been on this journey for my entire life, trying to understand what separates a guy like Kobe Bryant, who would shoot 1,000 free throws every single day after a full NBA practice, which is like a couple hours long. He would stay and shoot another 1,000 free throws. What separates a guy like Kobe Bryant from a person like myself? What separates a guy like Tiger Woods, who would hit golf balls until his hands bled, right? So after doing some self-reflection, there was two major realizations that I made. The first one, which I think is probably the key to starting to really maximize your potential, is understanding what it is you want to do in this world. Now, that is like a very loaded question, but really getting connected to what your true purpose is. There's a saying that's, we're here to remember what our soul already knows. What is it at our highest level, in the highest good for ourselves and for mankind? What is it that we're here to do on this earth, right? For a guy like Kobe Bryant, it was to play basketball, use his God-given talents and play basketball. But then he used that platform to help so many more people, to write a children's book, to inspire, millions of people, right? So it doesn't have to be about being Mother Teresa. If your maximum potential might be being a janitor or a custodian at a school and making sure that kids, especially in this environment, are in a safe, clean environment and doing the best of your ability. That might be it for you. It doesn't have to be this gigantic calling, but what it is you have to get truly connected to what that is that you're supposed to do. And once you do that, the energy comes. And then the energy is, I've said this a million times, that energy is a million times more important than intelligence. You can have all the intelligence in the world, but if you don't have the energy to use that intelligence, it's completely useless. The way we get that energy is to connect to what it is we're truly supposed to do. So I was able to do that. I thought what I had thought before I went down this spiritual journey, this personal growth journey, I thought what I was supposed to do was to make $1 million, make millions of dollars. That's what I wanted to do, and I thought that was my purpose. But after learning everything that I've learned, and you can watch all my content, and I'm basically describing what I've learned, I came to the realization that it can't be about money. It has to be about something higher. And you hear all these business leaders all the time saying that, your purpose has to be big. Your why has to be big. And if your why is money, that's not big enough, right? It has to be something about giving back to others, about changing the world. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So understanding that why is really important. And if you don't know what it is you're truly here to do, and for me, after the self-reflection that I've done, what I've realized that I'm here to do is to teach. And I can see very easily for me how I could create a chain of restaurants and bars and restaurants across all of North America very easily. I can see all of that. It would be the simplest thing in the world for me to do. And so I know what you're thinking while you're listening to this is like, why don't you just go do that? Because it's not my why. It doesn't fit into my why. Even though I know everything that I need to do to make a huge franchise, Treehouse is my current restaurant that I own. I can make a huge franchise and go across all of North America. I have everything, all the skills, all the knowledge to do it, but I'm not doing it because it's not connected to my higher purpose. So through this process, I discovered that what my highest purpose is to teach. And then you hear people say, well, those who can do and those who can't teach. And I don't believe that's true, because I have the ability to do whatever it is I want to do. I can do whatever it is I want to do. If I wanted to open up a chain of restaurants, I would. If I wanted to become a professional sailor, I would. But what is truly connected to my highest purpose, what's in the highest good for me and in the highest good for this entire world, is for me to spread my message and to teach. And also for me to share my journey as I continue to pursue this passion of mine, which is to give back and help others learn what I learned. And the basic thing that I learned, to put it into a nutshell, was that I was making my happiness destinational, meaning I was not going to allow myself to be happy because I believed in things like hustling, grinding, hard work, sacrifice in order to get what it is I wanted to attract into my life. And I wasn't going to allow myself to be happy whatsoever until those things were achieved. So my happiness was placed in a destination, which was the future for me. And I was miserable that entire time. So as I began to uncover what I really needed to do to become truly happy, and I started to become truly happy with who I was right in this moment. I no longer needed that $1 million or that big house or that fancy car to be happy. I was happy in my own skin. And that process of learning how to be happy in my own skin, it was a 15-year process for me, right? And what I'm trying to do in my teaching is make it, a much more condensed process for people. I don't want people to spend 15 years trying to uncover the secret like I did. I want you to be able to do it in a year or 6 months. And it was about personal discovery and self-growth and spiritual growth. And once I realized how to become happy, everything that I had ever wanted, ever desired, began to flow into my life effortlessly. And the best part about it is I was unattached to the outcome. If I made that $1 million, I was happy. If I didn't, I'm happy still. So the message here is that figure out how to get happy, and everything that you desire will begin to flow into your life. It's that simple. There is no hustle. There is no grind. There is no hard work. It's just get happy, let go of the outcome, and feel like you already have those things. And that's what I was connecting to. What I had to learn how to connect to was, how was I going to feel when I had the $1 million? How was I going to feel when I bought the big house or bought the boat or bought the supercar? How was that going to make me feel? And when I started answering that question, I realized that I could feel like that right now despite owning all of those things. So I started just trying to figure out how to continue to feel that way. And once I felt that way without having those things began to come into my life. That is what manifesting is all about. Manifesting is about feeling what it is you desire, how it's going to make you feel, and feeling like it's already happening. So I had to connect to those feelings and learn how to bring them into my life every single day. Once I did that, that which I desired began to flow in my life, and there was no effort. It was, yes, I was doing the work, but it didn't feel like a grind anymore. There was no forcing anymore. It was about flow. This is a huge difference. Okay? So after I discovered that, I came to this realization that my why was to give back and teach, because I inherently was a teacher. I loved teaching other people. I loved hanging out with my nieces and nephews and showing them and teaching them new things. When I used to be a pretty avid wakeboarder, and there was nothing that brought me more joy to bring someone new onto the boat and teach them what I had learned and teach them how to get up for the first time and see the elation on their faces when they finally got up behind the boat and they learned how to carve in and out, learned how to jump the wake. These were things that just brought me so much joy. And I had to create some self-awareness. I had to take a step back into observer mode and come to the realization that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help other people. I wanted to teach. So now that I knew my why, it was about creating a platform where I could turn my passion into something that I could do every single day. And this is where David F. Haas, this whole coaching system, the Rise Up Rich podcast, all of this was about me connecting to my true purpose. And when you're connected to your true purpose, there's one thing that you'll know when you're truly connected to your true purpose, because what I'm doing here, recording this podcast, coaching my clients, consulting with businesses, speaking at universities and colleges, what I'm doing is I know that I will be doing some form of this for the rest of my life. I have a saying that I have no desire to retire. And that is because I'm so connected to what I want to do, and it's such a part of me that there is no stopping it. Once you connect to who you truly are and what you truly want to do, there's no amount of money, there's no age, there's no external circumstances, be it, like a quote, coronavirus, that are going to stop me from pursuing this potential. So the thing that's really cool for you as the listener is that I'm going to take you down this journey and let you grow with me, let me show you how I begin to turn my purpose into a gigantic business. I don't even want to say it's a business, but how my message goes from connecting to like 10,000 people, or just under 10,000 people that are following me on Instagram now, and very smaller on other platforms. But let's just say it's 5,000 people. How I go from connecting to 5,000 people to how I go to connecting to millions of people. My goal for this thing, my be all end goal, is to do like a stadium tour where I just travel around Canada and the United States and give, full one-day workshops where I completely transform, millions of people's lives, stadium by stadium. So that's like the ultimate end goal, and you get to kind of come along with me, and I'm going to share with you how I accomplished it. I've been at this for a year so far, and in that year, I went from having no clients at all to having 10 consistent clients. I went from charging $100 an hour to charging like $300 an hour. I went from not having any speaking engagements to speaking at St. Clair College and being paid to do so. I have more and more people reaching out to me all the time to speak at their engagement. And the reason is because this is all I do. This is all that I want to do. And I'm continuing to put the effort forth. Now, this comes to the second thing. Once you uncover your why, everyone is so obsessed with the how around making money, or the how to grow your following, or the how to have a perfect relationship, or the how to have the impact and the influence that you want to have. But once you discover your why, and I have to just stress that, you have to understand what your why is first. And before I go into the how process, let me just go back to that. Once you understand your why, and you can do this in multiple ways. One is, I have this thing called the lottery experiment. Take out a pen and paper after you get off this podcast and imagine that you won $100 million in the lottery. Go through it and write out every single thing that you would do, where you would travel, what you would buy, what kind of house you would live in. And then just keep going. Say, okay, after you bought the nice house and you traveled around the world, and then what? Then you bought a Lamborghini and a Porsche and a Ferrari. Okay, and then what? Then you, I don't know what I'm trying to think. You sailed around the world. Okay, then what? Then what? Then what? And as you go down, you'll start to get to the point where you've done everything that you've ever wanted to do. You've accomplished everything that you ever wanted to accomplish in your entire life. And then you can ask yourself, okay, and now what do I do? So basically, you're removing money as the barrier. Another thing you can ask yourself is, what would I do if money didn't matter? Okay? If you do those two things, it might get you closer to what it is you truly want to do. If you still don't have an idea after doing those two examples, or those two exercises, I should say, the next thing is that you have to go out and taste. And Gary Vee talks about this all the time. If you're young, you just got to go out and start doing, because it's only through doing that you're going to start to realize what you actually like. If, for example, if I started going down this road of becoming a coach and I realized that this isn't what I want to do, then I could just transition. But I would have to kind of taste. I'd have to do it in order to realize I didn't want to do it, right? So those are the three things that I would do. Lottery experiment, what would you do if money didn't matter? And then I would taste. I would just go out and try as many things as I want until I found something that just lit me up. The fourth thing you could do is that you could ask, okay? And this is, don't ask other people. Again, we are here to remember what our soul already knows. So our soul right? Which is who we truly are. We're just having a human experience in this body. Our soul already knows what we're here to do. So you could just ask, right? Connect to a higher power, connect to your soul, and sit in meditation and wait for the truth to be revealed to you, right? My mentor, Andrew Facca, taught me this prayer, which is, I pray to thee to know thy will and for the energy to fulfill it. It's basically saying, God or universe or infinite intelligence or higher power or higher self, what is it that you want from me? And give me the energy to fulfill it once I understand that question, once I understand what it is I'm supposed to truly do. So those are 4 techniques that you can use to understand your why, okay? The second why starts with a how, because everyone is obsessed with how. Okay, this is for me. I knew that I wanted to teach. I wanted to become a coach. I wanted to become a speaker. I want to speak to tens of thousands of people at a time. How do I do it? Right? So what did I do when I was trying to learn this how? I read books. I bought courses for thousands of dollars. I attended events for thousands of dollars. I looked what other people were doing. I got my own personal coaches. I did everything and so I was so obsessed with the education around what I needed. I got so obsessed around this idea of the how. How was I going to grow my platform? How was I going to get coaching clients? How was I going to fill my events? I started looking into ClickFunnels and doing all this thing, all these. And what I came to the realization was, thankfully, because of a coach, I came to this realization that in order to understand the how, we have to do. And it is literally that simple. Like I said to you in the beginning of this podcast, I've been at coaching for about a year, right? And in that year, I've had, I would say, relatively good growth. I took my income in coaching to zero to about like $6,000 a month in a very short period of time. So, which is a decent income, right? And slowly it's beginning to supplement my income from my other businesses. But I was so obsessed with the how, I forgot to just do. If you just do, the how will figure itself out. It is through action that we learn the how, okay? So looking back at my coaching, 1 year, if I actually look at the amount of focused time I spent doing, not learning, not taking courses, just doing. Learning Facebook advertising, learning how to set up a podcast, learning how to create videos by creating videos, learning how to write vlogs, learning all of this stuff. If I just focused on the doing, if I actually just made videos, if I actually just made podcasts, if I actually just Facebook advertised, the how would figure itself out. It's once you get immersed in the field, okay? And there's a YouTube video about this kid, and I don't remember his name, but he's like this 14-year-old like genius, and he's speaking to MIT or something, all these university graduates, and he says, you're all learning wrong. And they're learning by studying. And what he said is that you gotta be the field. Okay, so we'll put a link to that video on this. He says, his name's Jacob Barnett, just came to me. You need to be the field. And how do you be the field? And I think this clarity came to me when I was doing the podcast last week with my wife, was when she decided to become a tattoo artist, she had immersed herself in the field. She was drawing every day. She was, as she drew every day, she was learning the how. She was learning how to draw quicker. She was learning how the techniques to drawing. She was starting to see the inspiration and everything. And because she was in the field, opportunities began to present themselves to her. And that's kind of the same thing that happened to me, but it was slow, right? For me, I put myself in the field of coaching. I just let people know that I was now a coach. I started putting out content slowly. And because I was in the field, I began to attract what it was that I wanted, which was to impact more people, to coach more people, to speak at more events. It began to come to me. But if I could have made that process a lot faster, if I would have taken away all of the questioning of what I was supposed to do, on how I was supposed to do it, if I would have just done it. Okay? So the next thing that comes from doing, though, is we know what we have to do. If we wanted to become an amazing basketball player, and if we had the God-given gifts of becoming an amazing basketball player, and that comes into playing your strengths, and part of this coaching system is me playing my strengths. I love to teach. When I was a kid in grade school, you have to give the speech. I was always the kid that went from the classroom into giving my speech in front of the whole entire school. I have a God-given gift to speak. When I was a little kid, I was connected to what I truly wanted to do. My mom was a minister, and I said, I want to do what you do. I want to be up in front of the church and speaking to that whole congregation, right? Obviously, it's changed forms, but that would be another way to discover your why, is to connect to what you want to do when you're a little kid. And then all of this shit comes in between. And, my wife was talking about this last week in our podcast, is like, being an artist wasn't even on her radar because of her environment. Her parents wanted her to go to school and do these things. And I'm not faulting her parents in any way because of that, but she got so far removed from her why, which was creativity and art, right? That she wasn't even aware of it. So one way you can bring awareness to is, what did you want to do when you were a little kid? I wanted to be a minister, but I got so far removed because of a lot of reasons from being a minister. I got focused on making money, right? So that when I started to do this for self-reflection, one of the indicators to me of what I truly want to do is what I wanted to do when I was a little kid. So that is just an aside, or a kind of rewinding on the why. That's another way you can discover your why, is what did you want to be when you were a little kid? It might help you answer that question. So after I came to this realization that all I needed to do was do, and this is a recent realization for me. All I needed to do was do. And so what does do look like for me in this platform? Well, it's about creating videos. It's about actually contacting people that might be potential coaching clients. I have a whole bunch of people in my contact list that I'm just not reaching out to because of belief systems or whatever it may be. We're going to get into that in a second. But I'm not doing, right? I'm not creating at scale. Gary Vee is talking about creating 30 pieces of content a day. I'm posting twice a day on Instagram, once a week on Facebook. It's like, I'm just not doing. By not doing, I'm not getting the feedback from the people that are watching, right? To know what is actually working, to know what is actually helping. It's not about getting from me, it's about what's actually helping people. And I know if it's helping people, they're sharing it with their friends, they're talking about it, they're engaging in my content. If it's not helping with them, it's not helping them in any way, they're not liking it, they're not sharing it. So I need to be doing, all right? So I know now that that's what I need to do. Make videos, make podcasts, reach out to people. Here's the kicker though. Why am I not doing? That is the question that we need to answer. Deep down, we all know what we need to do if we want to be successful in life. And when I say success, I don't mean about just money. Whatever it is, in relationships, in health, like being in shape, in business, whatever it is. We all know what we need to do. If you wanted to save more money, you know what you need to do. You need to track your spending and spend less money so you know where every single dollar is going. You know what you need to do, but you don't do it. If you want to become a professional basketball player, you need to go and shoot 1,000 free throws every day after a 2-hour practice, right? If you want to become a professional golfer, you need to hit golf balls until your hands bleed. But here's the thing. You know that's what you need to do, but you don't do it. So now we have to start digging into what is actually blocking us from maximizing our potential. Because now we have the answer. Now we know the answer to maximize our potential is doing. We have the blueprint on the wall, and again, my blueprint is actually reaching out to customers, creating leads, calling news stations, getting on other people's podcasts, is getting my name out there more, which I know is going to propel me forward. But why am I not doing it? That's the question I need to answer. And so some of the things that come up are like simple daily distractions, right? I have a family. I have a 9-month-old daughter, right? I have a whole entire another business that I'm still running, right? I have a general manager that's doing a lot of the work, but it's still my primary source of income at this time. So it's still a big part of who I am. I have to exercise. I have to eat. I have to do all of these things, right? So why is it that I'm not putting in the work? And then when I started looking back and reflecting this week, I started looking at my coaching platform. And I said, well, how many hours have I really put in a week to propel this, this potential, this inherent purpose that I feel that I'm supposed to do? How many hours a week am I really putting into this? And it was a reality check when I actually looked at it, because I would bet you that focused hours a week that I'm putting into propelling what it is I truly want to do forward is probably about 5 hours. And that was just like the ultimate wake up call for me. When I came to this realization, I was only putting in, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm only doing 5 hours a week. I'm not shooting 1,000 free throws a day by no means. I'm shooting, one, right? So why am I not doing it? So then I had to start looking within. So now there's a bunch of things. There's belief systems, okay? One is that you don't want to work too hard. You have to have a work-life balance, okay? So that's one belief system that, I don't want to kill myself working. So you need to figure out how to work through that. Another one is that a big one is about self-doubt, right? You don't believe, and this is for me too. I don't, as I start moving forward, I don't believe that anyone's going to listen to what I have to say, or I don't have the knowledge. I need to get more knowledge, and that's where people get stuck. They want to just acquire more knowledge, but knowledge, I just made an Instagram post, knowledge without action is completely useless. You can acquire all the knowledge in the world, but if you never put it into action, then you're never going to go anywhere. Okay, so getting over the belief system that I needed more knowledge, and that was about self-doubt. The next thing was about unworthiness, that I wasn't worthy of the success that this platform was going to bring to me. So these are at the roots of what's truly holding us back. And I believe people like Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods had either good parenting, good upbringing, had a connection to actually how to deal with their emotions, or maybe they had the proper distractions. You look at a guy like Tiger Woods that rose to the top and then he fell, right? He fell hard because of, maybe he had put so much time and energy into his passion that all his demons were coming out in other ways, right? So what we need to do is we need to look at that shadow, which is the shadow is that place that we don't want to tell anybody else about. And we need to realize how fucked up we are, right? What were all the things that happened to us in our lives that fucked us up? What were all the things that we did that were fucked up? And be free of them. Connect to how we felt when our dad smacked us in the face because we broke the TV remote. And I'm giving you a personal example there, because I remember when I was a kid, one of the things, I took a knife and cut the power button off of our remote control for our TV, and my dad went absolutely ballistic and smacked me right in the face, right? And I remember there were so many emotions in there that were completely left undealt with for my entire life. One was fear. I was scared shitless, right? The second was shame. I felt bad that I had made him angry, right? The other one was guilt. So I had to go back to that instance in my life and feel all those emotions again so that I was free of them. Those emotions created behaviors, mainly that I was undeserving of success because I was a bad kid, and that was a block to my achieving the success that I wanted to. So we need to understand what those blocks are. We need to learn how to become free of them through the letting go process, so that they are no longer holding us back. Because when we sit at our computer and we want to work on our whatever it is that we want to do, like for me, it's the coaching platform. So I want to sit down, I want to create a website, and I work for a half hour. What is it inside me that says, okay, it's time to get up and stop, right? The next thing is that you need to put some practicality into this. So the big one is uncovering the blocks to why you're not doing. That's what spiritual growth is all about. The second one, though, is to put some practical tips in place. So one thing that I live by is something I heard from Robin Sharma. It's creating tight bubbles of total focus. Okay? And basically all that is that if you could figure out how to work completely focused on one task for 30 minutes, you're probably going to get more done in those 30 minutes than most people do in a week. And that's one of the things that I teach in my coaching is learn how to get more done in a day than most people get done in a month. And it's through this system of tight bubble of total focus. So what I've done recently, and I've been experimenting with this, but really now that I've uncovered these blocks, it's been way more effective. So the two kind of go hand in hand. The blocks are removed. Now I'm going to start putting some practicality in it. And this all relates back to my whole entire coaching system, which is realize. Step one is awareness. right? It's the 3 R's: realize, release, realign. So realize what your purpose is, right? Realize what blocks you actually have to fulfilling your purpose. The next is release. So now you've discovered what those blocks are. You need to be free of them. You need to let them go. You can read the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins, where he'll teach you how to let those things go. The last is realign. The realign is about the practicality, the action. And the thing that I've found to be the most effective is tight bubbles of total focus. So when I sit down at my desk and I'm about to do work, what I do is I text my wife and say, I'm gone for the next 90 minutes. And I work in 90-minute windows of time with no distractions. I turn off all notifications on my laptop or on my computer. I turn my phone to silent, okay? And I work for 90 minutes straight. After those 90 minutes, I can turn my phone back on, check messages, go for a walk, do whatever, and I take about a 20 to a half hour break. And then I go into another 90-minute window. You can probably do, without too much issue, 3 90-minute windows a day. If you do those 90-minute windows, I'm striving to get to like 5, which is crazy because you hear guys like Gary Vee and all these guys that work 15-hour days, but it's like, this is about executing at the highest level. And those guys are executing at the highest level, and they've really realized how to keep their time. If you look at their schedules, every minute is planned. Every single minute is planned out for these guys. For me, what I found is that these tight bubbles of total focus is what is really allowing me to get what it is that I need to get done in the most efficient way possible. It takes us about 30 minutes to get into the zone, which is like, when you're really, truly firing, the creativity's firing. If someone text messages you, you pick up your phone and you get distracted for 10 minutes, it's going to take you another 30 minutes to get back into that zone. So that's why the 90-minute window is so important, because the first 30 minutes, you're just kind of getting into the groove of actually doing the work that you need to do. The next 60 is when you actually really start to produce. So you can see how, in this age of dramatic distraction, how we are just not getting anything done. And, for me, especially for me, now that I've discovered my purpose, all I want to do is execute, but I had to look at the blocks. Once I remove the blocks, now I need to put in the practicality. And that's basically what this is all about. It's about doing, realizing what's blocking you from doing, and then putting in some practical tips. Tight bubble of total focus is just one. Another one I would say is getting up early. 5 a.m. for me is like my golden time. If I'm up at 5 a.m., that gives me an hour of just being alone, hour and a half sometimes, where I can meditate, I can journal, I can get ahead of my day. I chase my day instead of my day chasing me. I can exercise, I can do my foundation. What are those 5 to 10 things that I need to do every single day to make sure that I'm living my life to the fullest? All right. So that's another practical tip that you can implement after you realize what you want to do, you remove the blocks. That's, I think, where I'm going to wrap this thing up today, because I think that's all I really wanted to give you with these 2 things. Discover your why. What is it that you truly want to do? Use those techniques that I talked about. And then once you discover the why, just get into action. As you get into action, resistances are going to come up to being in action. Take a step back, move into observer mode, observe what those resistances are. Once you become aware of what they are, you can then release them forever, and you can realign with new habits. That's basically it. I know that was kind of intense there, but it was a new realization for me, and I wanted to bring it to you as quickly as I possibly could, because I know that you watching me and me kind of sharing my experience of how I'm growing this thing is going to help you insanely. So the big realization that I had recently was that I just wasn't doing. So if you're not doing, it's time to get into action, and it's time to figure out why you're not getting into action. Why aren't you shooting 1,000 free throws every single day like Kobe? Thanks for taking the time to listen. Don't forget, every single Wednesday, I have a podcast. I release a podcast, so make sure you like, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. You can follow me on my platforms. David F. Haas is pretty much what you can follow me on every single platform. And I hope you are able to have some new awarenesses and to come to this realization that you don't need to require any more knowledge. You just need to get into action. The how will be answered through action.